What's going on, guys? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and today I am bringing you a commentary over the 3rd and 4th place match of our March Madness Wi-Fi tournament that recently concluded. For those of you who participated, there obviously are 4 people who advanced to the semifinals. Those are Cheeseboy628, Lucio Banaga, Sticks from the Token Minorities, and Master in the Wind. All 4 of these battlers definitely deserved to advance to the semifinals. And in the semifinal round, Sticks defeated Cheeseboy, and Master in the Wind defeated Lucio Banaga, both by a 2-1, 2 games to 1 game score. So definitely an incredible semifinals round. And then from there we advance to the championship round, which includes a 3rd and 4th place game and of course the championship game. Here we have the first game in the 3rd and 4th place game. Let's say the first game in the 3rd and 4th place match. It's going to be a best 2 of 3 match, with 2 games out of 3 being able to take the 3rd place prize. This is between Cheeseboy628 and Lucio Banaga. So let's take a look at team preview. I haven't watched this battle before myself, so I'll be kind of watching and learning along with you guys here. But it looks like Cheeseboy is bringing a Trick Room team, I would say, with the Cresselia and Jirachi as both potential Trick Room layers. And Heatran, of course, can work very well under Trick Room, and Crawdon is probably the best Pokemon under Trick Room, very closely matched by Mega Heracross, and then a Ferrothorn likely for hazards and such on Cheese's side. And then on Lucio Banaga's side, it looks like he has a balanced team with Scolipede support. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. I'm going to anticipate that this is a Scarf Lando T, as his team is pretty slow overall, unless he wants to simply rely on the Scolipede's baton passing speed boosts. If Lando T is the Scarf user, then Mamoswine is probably the Stealth Rock user, and that would be what I anticipate him leading with here. So let's kind of see what happens. I'm expecting a lead by Cheeseboy of... Ooh, I don't know. He might be scared of Scolipede, so depends on his Rachi set. He might lead with Jirachi here, and I expect Lucio to lead with Mamoswine. So let's kind of see what happens. Cheeseboy will be on the near side in this battle, and it appears that Lucio Banaga, or I'll just call him Supachu, that's what he goes by on Skype, that's easier for me to say. Cheese versus Supachu, okay, Supachu's on the opposing side. So, Cheese leads off with Ferrothorn, and Lucio decides to lead off with his Scolipede, and it looks like he's going to be a hazard stagging Scolipede, which is interesting. It's probably, that's probably better for him in this case, as a speed boost passing Scolipede would not operate too well under Trick Room conditions. So he does reveal the Focus Sash here, as Ferrothorn just goes for the Gyro Ball, and of course activates the speed boost after that turn. Now he's going to go for the Endeavor, which will severely weaken the Ferrothorn, and I believe we saw that it did not have leftovers on the previous turn. Is that right? I don't know, I didn't catch that, but here, as Scolipede of course goes down to Iron Barbs, Ferrothorn is able to get his Stealth Rock up, and now there is 1 layer of hazards on both sides of the field. Now, Lucio decides to go into his Landorus T, which is a good play considering Ferrothorn is low on health, but I am kind of interested in seeing what he wants to go for here. He does just go for the U-turn, so that tells me that this is probably going to be a Choice Scarf variant, as that would have been a very good opportunity to get up his Stealth Rock, as hazards of course are going to be pretty good against Cheese's team, especially considering I don't believe he has any means of getting them off the field. So he's going to take out the Ferrothorn with a U-turn and send in his Azumarill, which does have a very good matchup against the majority of Cheese's team. However, Cheese does have Cresselia, which is able to come in and take pretty much any hit from Azumarill, even a knockoff from full health. But Cheese decides to go into Mega Heracross, which also is a very good decision, as unless this Azumarill is a Choice Scarf Azumarill, which is, you know, very rare, this Heracross should be able to do a lot of damage with the Bullet Seed. And luckily for Cheese, this Azumarill is not a random Sap Sipper variant, and I do kind of see it just going down to maybe 2 more Bullet Seeds here. And that's exactly what happened. So Cheese is off to a pretty good start, taking out the Azumarill, which actually could have been one of the biggest threats to his team, especially as Azumarill is such a good switch into Heatran, and even Crawdon to an extent whenever Azumarill is at full health. But here, Lucio is going to go into his Gallade, most likely a Mega, as he doesn't have any other Mega candidates on his team. And Cheese is going to make the pretty obvious switch into Cresselia, and we'll see if Lucio decides to go for his Swords Dance here, as that probably is his best play, especially if he has knockoff. But if he does not have knockoff, then he's probably best just to go for damage. But he does go for the Swords Dance here, so Cheese should be a little bit concerned, as this Cresselia could be in danger of going down to this knockoff depending on his investment, and it does survive with 15 HP, and that's pretty big for Cheese, as now he's able to go for the Trick Room, and if he does have Healing Wish, he could try to heal something back. I'm not sure if anything was weakened enough to require that at this point. I don't think that's the case. He might just go for an attack here on the Porygon 2, but if he goes for the Lunar Dance, then so be it. But he does go for the Psychic here on the Porygon 2, which is alright. It's going to do pitiful damage since Porygon 2 is disgustingly bulky, and we'll see what Crest decides to go for here, as P2 just goes for the Toxic, which should wear down on the Cresselia, but Cheese just goes for the Moonlight, which is a good play. I wasn't sure if he had that, as generally on Trick Room teams, Cresselia doesn't really need the recovery. It's more there to lay the Trick Room and Healing Wish, or Lunar Dance rather, a teammate back up to full health. But now Cheese knows he doesn't want to have anything to do with the Porygon 2, and is going to make a good switch into Heatran, as this does have a lot of options against Porygon 2. Specifically, you could lay a Toxic on it, or because this is a team under Trick Room, there's a good chance that this is an offensive Heatran. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but a quiet Heatran is something that happens under Trick Room sometimes, and I believe when it is quiet, it has the capacity to run Iron Head, which gives it a better option against some fairies. So that's something to keep in mind. I doubt that's what's going on here. It looks like he has a Substitute and Toxic set, so looks like Sub-Toxic, maybe even Protect, to just make this a nuisance to Lucio's team. And actually, just looking at what Lucio has left, I see this as being an enormous threat, especially if the Substitute is up. So Cheese looks to be in a pretty good position here. Here he just goes for the Fire Blast, revealing that this probably does have some offensive investment. Otherwise, running Fire Blast on a stall user is pretty bad, but he does reveal the Life Orb. So I am second guessing myself on the Protect prediction. I'm assuming he has something more like Earth Power or Flash Cannon than in that last move slot. The Porygon 2 is getting pretty weakened here, and Cheese decides to go for another Substitute, which I'm not sure if I agree with that play, considering he's going to feint to his own Life Orb recoil should he wish to attack again here. And while that would take down the Porygon 2, you'll also lose your Heatran, which is a very good mon in this game. So I don't know, it's an interesting choice on his part, but I assume he knows what he's doing. He got farther in the tournament than I did, so that tells you something. But granted, I lost to Master in the Wind, who ended up being in the championship, but hey, Heatran does go down here as well, so it's a double down on this turn. Cheese goes into his Cresselia, which is a good play, as it does have a good matchup against pretty much everything Lucio has remaining. And Lucio goes into his Landorus T. I assume we're just going to see a U-turn here. If this is indeed his rocker, he might go for some late game rocks against this Crest, but he might just die to an Ice Beam in the process. But he just goes for U-turn, fails to KO the Cresselia, and now we're going to see what Lucio wants to go into after the U-turn, and it looks like it's going to be Man-Bear Pig, which is the Mamoswine. So that's a good switch into Cresselia any day, especially if Cresselia is as low as this one is. But Cheese makes a good play here and just goes for the Trick Room, knowing that Cresselia is already low, it's statused, and the Trick Room is the most important thing at this point, considering Crawdaunt does have a very good matchup against the rest of Lucio's team, and I believe Crawdaunt should be able to clean up from here if Mega Heracross cannot. So down goes the Cresselia, and now let's see which monster Cheese wants to send in. It's going to be the Crawdaunt, and like I said, I don't think Lucio has anything that can handle this anymore, so this might just be a clean sweep from this point, but we'll see what Lucio wants to do here. He might surprise us as he goes into his Landorus T, which is a good play in my opinion, as the Intimidate will weaken the Crawdaunt, and while Crawdaunt does have adaptability, -1 attack does impact it a little bit, considering its base attack isn't remarkably high in the first place, if I recall correctly. But Cheese does manage to knock off the Choice Scarf, so that's good information to have, I guess. Not that it matters at this point, but Landorus T does go down, and now he brings in the Mamoswine against the Crawdaunt, and I expect just an Aqua Jet here, and that'll just go down as well. So this is looking like a clean sweep. But wait, the Mamoswine holds on. Hang on a second. It goes for the Freeze Dry. I did not see that coming. And that should take out the Crawdaunt. Okay. Wow. So Mammoth is bulkier than I thought, or Crawdon's a lot weaker than I thought. That's interesting. I did not see that coming, but we do have another double down here, so this is a game of double downs, it seems. But Cheese is going to go into his Jirachi, which is pretty cool. We don't really know what this thing's going to do. We haven't seen anything. Like I said, a team preview, I anticipate this having Trick Room, as that would give him 2 Trick Room options on his team, which is pretty standard for a Trick Room team. Lucio just going to go for the Swords Dance against the Jirachi, which is a good play considering that Gallade cannot be flinched due to its inner focus ability, and regardless, Jirachi underspeeds Gallade, but on the off chance that this was a Choice Scarf Jirachi, the inner focus would come into play here. Cheese just goes for the Trick Room as anticipated, and now Lucio is going to go for the Flinch Hacks because he kind of has to take out the Jirachi, as Mega Gallade after a close combat would be weak enough to the point where Iron Head would be a 2-hit KO. So now I anticipate him, well, he missed the Zen Headbutt here. I think he should have just gone for the close combat and tried to take it out from that range, but really it was kind of a futile effort at this point, as Jirachi would be able to clean this up. I guess what he was trying to do here was flinch him and stall out Trick Room turns such that he could pull off the win in the end while being able to outspeed his opponent outside of Trick Room. So I see what he's trying to do here. Sadly for him, he's not able to get the benefit of the flinch, but congratulations to Cheeseboy on winning Game 1 of the 3rd and 4th place match, and we'll be posting Game 2 of the 3rd and 4th place match here in a couple days. See you then.